Welcome, everybody, to the Mod Golf Podcast. On this edition, we are talking to entrepreneur, founder, CEO, and owner of Power Tea, Martin Wyeth. And Martin is, wait till you hear his story. He shared with us earlier on our audio podcast interview earlier. The backstory of Power Tea, which is fascinating. So I really encourage people to go listen to that after watching this video. But we're going to talk about a couple of different things here just to keep it fresh so that, we're not repeating ourselves here because we don't want to be doing that. So, hey, I want to open here to say, hey, Martin, welcome back to the Mod Golf Podcast. Good to see you again.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Colin. I enjoyed our talk earlier, and I'm looking forward to your new questions.
Absolutely. So we'll keep you on your toes here. So we did talk about, like I said, the backstory of Power Tea and the aha moment. So I don't want to get into that too much, but let's start before I ask my next questions. Why don't you share with our viewers here what Power Tea is?
So Power Tea is basically it's a practice aid. It's there to help you learn golf in the beginning, and it's there to help you get better through your golfing career. It's a practice mat that you pour your bucket of balls into, and it then tees the ball up, allows you to set your tee height. And then we've had a marvelous addition to the product from Jim Furyk. He's given us an alignment system that allows you to set yourself up for any shape of shot. And then Power Tea is going to make sure that when you do practice your golf swing, you're practicing it from exactly the right position. So building those repetitions, they're always better if they're consistent and the same every time.
Nice. It's almost like you read my mind, like you knew what my first question is here, which you did not. And that was going to ask you about partnerships, because with entrepreneurship, going alone is hard. There's a saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So now that you've been very successful in the UK market and the European market, and now you're based in Florida and you are about to embark on global domination with Power Tea in the US and then in Canada where I am here. So tell us about those partnerships, especially some of the ambassador programs you have starting with Jim Furyk. Tell us about that relationship and how that came about.
So Jim Furyk is a local resident where I live. I actually live at Sawgrass or Pontevedra, not far from the Players Club. And Jim lives very, very nearby. As we developed our business here, we were quite keen to speak with Jim and find out, whether or not he would be interested in endorsing the product. We actually engaged with Jim's father first, Mike Furyk, who taught Jim how to play golf, and through a rather convoluted process, Jim and his father turned up at my house where I have a Power Tea, and came through to the backyard where I had one set up for my children to play with, and Jim got hold of a 60-degree wedge, which had a shiny rubber grip that needed changing about 5 years ago, and proceeded to nearly dunk the ball into the hole with his first shot using the club, and hit maybe 4 or 5 shots. Said, "Yeah, man, I love the mat. That's really cool." And then we spoke a little bit about the concept of using Power Tea to practice a real repetitive golf swing, and he liked that. He likes the angle of growing the game, of how much Power Tea appeals to children. They'll jump up and down with excitement when the ball comes out of the hole. We've captured that on video a number of times.
Nice.
So
nice.
The partnership sort of grew from there, and he's just a really obviously first class golfer, but very intelligent guy. And he's, when I do actually remember when Jim came on the circuit, although I wasn't a keen golfer at the time, I just remember the swing and what all the commentators were saying about it when he first came on the scene. And we really like that because what Jim does is he hits the ball the way that's comfortable for him and the way that works for him. and he's world number 3 on the all-time money list. So there's not many people out there who wouldn't take that at the start of their golf career. Trying to understand why Power Tee is so popular, why people like it so much. We're always probing around for clues. And Jim Furyk, when he's about to go play, if the tee line is not in absolutely pristine condition, he won't practice. And the reason for that is he doesn't want to practice hitting bad shots. So if the lie is bad, or if the tee line is really chewed up, you're not going to hit the ball well, and you're not going to take confidence to the first tee. This is something that Ben Hogan was also absolutely renowned for. He would stalk the tee line, and if the grass wasn't there, he would always look for a decent lie to practice out of. And this plays very, very well to what we do, is allowing people to practice their best golf shots, not their most mediocre. There's a lot to be said for practicing good golf shots, not practicing bad golf shots.
Right. So what I love about what you're doing here, because in the Mod Golf Podcast, we're always talking to people that are growing the game, or expanding the game, and making it more inviting and welcoming and to onboard. And it sounds like what you've created, not only functionally as a training tool, as you've touched on, because you're reducing the variables as your pre-swing setup, as you're talking about earlier, and what Jim Furyk had touched on also. So you appeal to the elite level golfer. You obviously appeal to me, where I'm that 13, 14 handicapper, so that in-between golfer, and beginner golfers and kids. It sounds like everybody loves the Power Tee experience. And it sounds like also your clients, your customers, your buyers, which are the golf course and golf range owners and operators, they love it too. So tell us a little bit about the business model that took you a year or two, or a little bit of time to kind of crack the code on that, to realize how you were going to then turn Power Tee into a viable business and scalable business model.
So the idea is fairly simple. It's not a new idea. It's been done many times before. And initially, I rejected the idea on commercial grounds. They were going to be too expensive to build and sell. And it wasn't really until I came up with the idea of pay-per-usage that it started to look like a viable business. So for the customer, it doesn't cost them anything to have the system installed. So it takes away, a big barrier to entry. And then as the machine gets used, they pay for it. And given that our system generates a lot more traffic, it's very popular through the game, it pays for itself from day one. So there's actually no investment required in Power Tee. It makes money. It makes more money than it costs you. By the time you pay your first payment at the end of the first month, you've already made more money than that payment adds up to. So it's a very cash generative product.
Sounds like for every single tee, the break even point every year would be within a couple of months almost. And then it's just profit for them, pretty much.
Yeah, it's actually instant, because the golf facility doesn't actually lay out any money. We take care of the installation, the manufacture of the product. We come and install it. By the end of their first month, they still haven't paid us anything. And in that month, they'll earn so much money from increased usage that it's more than enough to pay their first rental payment.
Right.
So it's sort of cash positive from day one.
Nice. So you've just touched on a couple of really important things here for entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs to really pay attention to. Is you don't need to invent everything from scratch, whether it's your business model or whether it's your technology, your hardware, your software, and your processes. That look to other industries and take the best elements from those and business models from other industries too, and apply that to what you're doing. And you've certainly done that, Martin, and kind of reimagined the golf tee driving range practice experience, not only as something that's functional, but something that's fun. It's amazing. I can't wait for you to get one up here in Vancouver for me to give it a shot. So hopefully that happens soon.
We're talking to a few people in Vancouver, so hopefully it won't be too long. And I guarantee you're going to enjoy it.
So, Martin, one of the groups in society, the demographics, I guess you can say, that we are definitely looking to grow the game of golf is children and youth to get them engaged early. So I understand that Power Tee really resonates with young people. So give us tell us a couple of stories about Power Tee and kids and how they have engaged with your product.
Thank you very much. I have three of my own, so I have a little bit of a close-hand experience with them, and it's fascinating. Children are quite often the best critiques of products. They'll tell it how it is, and children just instantly engage with Power Tee. They intrinsically understand how it works, so they run up to it, they lift the hopper lid, dump the balls in, set the tee height, and they start hitting. And the excitement that they exude is phenomenal. But the wonderful thing about it is, if you take a child to a grass tee line and you want them to practice, you put them there, you give them the clubs, you give them everything, and quite often they can't tee the ball up, so that frustrates them. But even when they do, once they get into position, they don't really get into a good position. So they'll toe it, they'll heel it, they'll fat it, whatever. And if my kids typically would run out of steam at about 20 balls on grass. If you put them on a Power Tee, if they hit it out the toe, they can feel that, so they get a bit closer. If they go over the top, they know, so they lean forward. And within 3 or 4 shots, they hit a good golf shot, their eyes light up, their excitement grows. They don't move anything and they repeat that shot. And the effect that has on the number of balls they hit is absolutely breathtaking. They'll go from hitting 20 or 30 balls on grass to hitting 100 balls of their own and then kicking their dad off his Power Tee so they can hit the remainder of his balls. So it's a wonderful thing to observe, and we'll send you a few videos that you can maybe clip in that show how kids first react to Power Tee. And I may send you a little clip of my son's swing, having practiced his whole life on Power Tee.
Nice. Well, this is a nice segue into my last question, because on the audio podcast, we talked a lot about the backstory and the past and the kind of the origin story of Power Tee and yourself as an entrepreneur. So I want to finish up here, Martin, with the future. So you've made the effort. You moved from the UK to be in Florida, to be in really the kind of the epicenter of golf, and having someone like Jim Furyk and his dad living down the street that can just knock on your front door. That's the type of thing you need to do as an entrepreneur, is go to where the market is, and you've done that. So tell us about the future. What's in store for as you expand in the North American market? What can you tell us also with the technology, maybe new features you're looking at that you're able to share with us, and also your business plan to scale up here? So let's finish up with that and tell us about the future of Power Tee for 2021 and beyond.
Well, we have three basic markets that we sell into. There's people buy these things for their home, and they'll put them in their simulator rooms and their backyards. We have people, with hunting lodges that hit balls into their estate. People with golf simulator rooms that have them mounted in the floor. And so that's one market for home use. We also have machines at busy commercial driving ranges. So anywhere where people go and practice golf, we take Power Tee, and that's a revenue enhancer for the golf range. It's a great practice aid for the golfers. And so that's our sort of natural business. We're actually in 80% of the UK's driving ranges, which is an incredible market penetration. And that's courtesy of the fact that the golfers love it and it generates revenue. And then there's finally where we're starting to experiment with country clubs. So what you'll find at most, well frequented country clubs is that the grass tee line really can't keep up with the amount of play. So if you're, in the first couple of groups that go out, then what you'll see is, the grass is okay. But by the time you get to midday, you're really struggling for anything half decent to hit the ball off of. So we've got a few people now who are saying, well, look, let's not make our members hit balls out of this stodge. And when you're doing that, you're also really damaging the root structure of the driving range. So it's very intensive to bring it back. It uses a lot of water. So we've got a few people now starting to just alternate and say, well, we're going to be grass in the mornings and we're going to be power tea in the afternoons and evenings. And the results are staggering. You know, the range is a really fun and decent place to go and take the family and enjoy, you know, an afternoon, evening session on power tea. Whereas the exact opposite is true. If you go down there and the grass has been burned away all day, you get your young child on it and they stand there and they're wading around in sand and divot mix and they can't, you know, they just can't get the ball in the air. And we spoke about Jim Furyk, you know, not practicing out of a bad lie. And we also touched a little bit on the gateway to golf, bringing new people to the game. If you take a beginner and you put them in that environment, really, if they can get 2 or 3 balls out of 50 in the air, they're going to be doing well. It's really difficult to hit out of that stuff. And your engagement levels are going to be incredibly low. If you can introduce people through a product like Power Tea, where it takes them a little while, you know, to get in position and to hit the ball well, but when they do hit the ball well, they can repeat it. The club's clean, the ball's clean, they don't move, they stay focused. And what you'll see, beginners, their confidence level grows incredibly quickly with Power Tea. Now, we all know that that's a slight falsehood. You can't, you know, when you go out onto the golf course, you have to be able to get in position for every shot. But if we want to engage golfers and we want to engage beginners, we have to teach them that they can play the game, that they can hit good golf shots, that they can have fun. And the only way they're going to learn that is by hitting good golf shots. So the more confidence you can give people at that gateway, the better.
Love it. And you've just touched on so many of the things that we just love to talk about every single time on the Mod Golf podcast. And that is, how do we make golf more welcoming and inviting, more fun, more engaging? And yeah, if you have better results, especially at the beginning, that first experience, right? As they say, you only have one chance for a first impression. And golf's the same way. If your first impression is hitting it out in some mud or hitting on bad lies and you can't get it out of the air and you're topping it, you're not going to come back. It's like, this is frustrating, totally. Way too hard. So you're doing great things here to bring golf to the masses. I love it. And as I said, I can't wait, Martin, for you to get a Power Tea close to me so I can give it a go here. So hey, why don't we finish up here? Before we do though, why don't you mention to our viewers where they can learn more about Power Tea?
Our website is www.powertea.com.
Easy peasy, just like that. So we'll put that in the show notes and comments down below. Make it easy for our viewers here to check you out with Power Tea. And once again, Martin, thanks so much for joining me today and telling us about your entrepreneurial journey, telling us about the past on the podcast, telling us about the future now on our YouTube video here. I've enjoyed all of it. So Martin, great to meet you. Great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Colin. I really appreciate the opportunity to appear on your podcast and look forward to seeing what you do with me.